What is up, guys? My name is Ben Hartwell. Thanks for checking out my channel. If it's your first time here, please consider subscribing. Have you ever been on stage and broken a string, or a pedal has stopped working, a cable has stopped working, your amp has stopped working, a part has broken off your guitar strap's broken, a power cable's died, a fuse has blown, or any other disaster that can happen to you whilst you're on stage? Then you need the Guitarist Survival Kit. Okay, so this might seem like quite a lot of stuff. I'm not saying that you need all of it, but each piece here has been useful for me at some gig, somewhere, in some emergency. Okay, where to start? This is a Leatherman, and it's probably the most important tool you can take on the road with you. It's got pliers, it's got screwdrivers, it's got the sharpest knife known to man, a saw, you know, for when you need to cut a tree down. These things are awesome. I definitely recommend you get a Leatherman. Some of the obvious things in this pack: a whole bunch of strings, individuals and packs of strings, because you never know when you're going to break a string. Although I'm not really a string breaker, the most common string that I break is a high E string. So I have a whole pack just of high E strings, so I can just pull one of those out and get straight on with the gig. Mini cable ties. These things come in so useful for securing stuff on stage, whether it's cables or patch leads. I usually have a pack of these little ones, and I usually carry a few of the larger ones too. A little towel. I always carry a little towel with me. Usually it's because I'm playing in hot climates, so I need one of these when I get hot and sweaty, just to wipe down. But it also comes in useful for when there's an emergency, like when people spill stuff on your gear, you've got a toweled hand to mop up that stuff. Surge protected power extension cord. You never know where the power is going to be on stage, or how reliable or clean that power is going to be. So if I haven't got a power conditioner with me, this is the next best thing. At least I know that any gear that I plug into this is going to be surge protected. Battery charger, its power lead and spare batteries. If you're running any gear on batteries, like in-ear monitors, wireless systems, even pedals that are running off 9V, make sure you've got plenty of spares with you. The way that I do it to save having to take hundreds and hundreds of batteries is I use this battery charger, and I use these Anyloop Pro batteries, which last a really long time and they charge really quickly. A can of switch cleaner. This stuff is great for when you get crackling pots on your guitar or on your pedals. Just whip the back off the guitar, quick spray with this stuff, problem solved. A couple of different kinds of string cleaner. Because I tend to sweat quite a bit when I'm on stage, especially when I'm away in hot climates, I find it's a good idea to wipe down with some of this, which is a GHS Fast Fret. I use it before and after a gig, and it just helps make the strings last a little bit longer by taking off all that grime that I've put on during a show. When I was away on this last contract, I couldn't actually get hold of any Fast Fret, so I got some of this string fuel, which is basically the same kind of thing, just with a kind of roll-on applicator. Mini screwdriver set. These are great if you need to do any running repairs on guitar, because guitars tend to have really tiny screws, and they're only a couple of quid on Amazon, so definitely get yourself one of these sets. Spare cables for everything, phone charger lead, extra 9V lead. This is the connection lead for my iRig. If everything else was to go down, my amp or the Helix or whatever it was that I was using for the gig, I know that I've always got my iRig. I can plug into my computer and I can dial up some kind of sound, and hopefully I'd get through a gig. A couple of spare capos, self-explanatory. USB memory stick, This is actually the one that came with my Helix. It's surprising how often at a venue I get asked, have you got a memory stick? So I always keep one with me, and this one also has all the backups for my patches on the Helix. Gaffer tape and electrical tape. Gaffer tape can fix a multitude of problems. Next to the Leatherman, it's probably the next most useful thing you can take with you. I get through rolls and rolls of gaffer tape. I use it for securing cables on the stage so everything's nice and tidy and I'm not going to trip over anything. I've used it for fixing parts on my guitar, repairing pickup covers, when the strap pin broke on my Sir and I needed to secure my guitar strap, when handles are broken on PA, all kinds of things. Gaffer tape is super useful. Definitely take a roll of this with you. And electrical tape is the same kind of deal for when you're doing electrical repairs. The superbly named Big Ben's Nut Sauce. This is a string lubricant and I use it on everything when I'm changing strings. It really helps with tuning stability, especially when you're going through different climate changes. Highly recommend this stuff. This is my Sir Riot pedal. I don't always take this with me, but if I'm going to a jam session or I can't take any of my own gear, I'll stick the Riot in and maybe a delay pedal, because then I know that no matter what I'm plugging into, I can probably get a decent sound out of it. Spare patch leads. Patch leads are probably the first thing to go wrong on most rigs. If you've got a problem, a cracking, a buzzing, a dropouts in signal, chances are it's gonna be a patch lead. In my current rig, I only use 2 patch leads, so I don't need to carry that many extras with me. And these ones are from Lava cables, and they're their solderless cables, so they make a really strong connection and they're really reliable. SM57. Depending on the gig, I'll usually have this in a case somewhere because this is the do-it-all microphone. If my main vocal mic were to go down, I can use this. If I turn up to a gig and they haven't got a decent microphone to mic up my cab, I can use this. It takes up no space and it sounds great, so I just throw this into any of my cases. In this little Tupperware box, got a set of earplugs, little Allen keys for adjusting the bridge saddles on my guitars, and then just a couple of bags of picks that I don't really tend to use these ones anymore, but they're there just in case as spares. And these little Tupperware boxes are great for carrying things like that. Spare packs of picks. At the moment I'm trying to decide on the new picks that I'm going to be using for this tour coming up. I'm really liking these flow picks, but I might be going down a gauge, so at the moment I only have a few of them, but usually I'll have bags of picks that I take with me. Planet Waves string winder. This thing comes in really useful. It's great for when you're changing strings because it makes it super fast. It's got a bridge pin puller for acoustic guitars. Also got a pair of snips for cutting the ends off those strings. Extra earbuds for my in-ears. Don't really need to change these that often, but it's good to have spares with you. A spare European plug, because you can never have enough. Planet Waves headstock tuner. These things come in really useful, especially backstage where I might not have any power. Clip this on the headstock, get all the guitars in tune before I hit the stage. The amount of times you need a pen when you're at a gig is ridiculous, so I keep a Sharpie with me in my guitar case. Spare IEC cord, because again, you can never have enough of these things, so if one of my main ones was to fail, I've always got a backup. Spare guitar leads. I tend to change my main guitar leads every year, so these are actually last year's main leads, and so that I can remember which leads are which, I get them color coded, so I know last year's was blue, the year before that was red, and this year's are going to be grey, so I just take last year's leads as a backup for this year's. The toothbrush. Not actually for what you think. Toothbrushes are actually really useful for cleaning and restringing. That's what I use this one for. You don't have to get a kiddie's one like mine, but they are really useful. Now all that stuff doesn't always go into that case. Depending on what the gig is and what gear I'm actually taking with me, I'll split some of that stuff up. Some of it will go in a guitar case, some of it goes in the Helix bag, some of it will go in my laptop bag, or whatever it is that I'm taking with me. But if I'm going on a bigger tour or an extended series of gigs, I'll usually pack all that stuff into one of those flight cases so that it's easy just to grab it and go. I'll put links to all these bits of gear in the description below. The one thing to take away from this is redundancy is key. You need a backup for everything that you use when you're on stage, not just your consumables, but think of the bigger picture and what you would do if something more involved were to go wrong. That's the whole point behind this survival kit. It's got everything you could need just in case the worst would happen. I hope this video was useful and I hope you liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up below. If you want to watch another video on my channel, you can click just up here. Don't forget to subscribe, you can do it just there. See you in the next one.